Okay, we continue with Shmuel Aleph. We finished Perek Chaf Aleph last time we met, but there's a lot of things that still have to be addressed. We see that when David ran away from the city of Nov, so he entered the Plishti city of Gas, and he is detected by the people of Gas as David HaMelech who killed Goliath, and therefore David came up with a plan, and he feigned, or it would appear he feigned being crazy, and because of that they let him go. So there's a lot to talk about over here. First thing we need to discuss is that this event is spoken about again somewhere else in the Tanakh. Does anybody know where this event is mentioned? Okay. It is something that we daven once a week for those who come early to Shul. You'll find it in the Shabbos Psukkah de Zimra. It is in Tehillim, Perek Lamed Daled, Psalm chapter 34. We say it every Shabbos morning, and the first line reads as follows: LeDavid b'shanaso estamo lifnei Avimelech vayigorshehu vayelach. Of David, when he disguised his sanity before Avimelech, who drove him out and he left. So, some are going to ask, what are you talking about? That says Avimelech and doesn't say Ochish.
That's right.
That's right. So, let's look at some of the commentaries over here on the Siddur. And we'll start with the commentary brought to you in the Otzer HaTfilos. It's a siddur that I don't believe it's been translated yet into English. Maybe people take parts of it, but it's chock full of commentary. So I'm going to read a little bit about this psalm and what it's doing in the Shabbos davening. So it's very small print. He says right before this tefillah, he says Mizmor Halaz. This Mizmor Aso David composed this. Kasher Porach Mipnei Shol El Achish Melech Gas. When David went away from Shol to Achish, the king of Gas. V'nikre Gam Kein Avimelech, and Achish is also referred to as Avimelech. And there's really two reasons for that. Number one, we know in general there were many kings who always had a particular kingly name, such Paro. Paro, whoever the king was, he was always called Paro. Just like Caesar was always called Caesar, the king of Egypt was always called Paro. And certainly the king of the Plishtim, especially Gas, was called Avimelech. You know, with Abraham and Yitzchak, they both were in Gas, they both dealt with Avimelech. It's not likely that it was the same Avimelech. Although here he's called Achish, that might be a more personal name, but he's generally the Avimelech. While over here, this commentary is another reason. Tzadik Avimelech, he was as righteous as Avimelech. We know by Avimelech, he never touched Sarah. He claimed he was righteous, even though he may have had bad intentions, but he never did anything to Sarah. And we could say the same thing. Avimelech did not end up killing David, as we'll see. So there's some certain similarities. So that's what Rashi says. So we've already cleared up that issue, that it's the same, Achish is the same as Avimelech. V'kasher nitzal mimenu, and when he was saved from Avimelech, Omar zeh hamizmor, he composed this psalm. Why is that? Toda lokel shetziluhu. It's thanks to God who saved him. Now here's the real question. It's a wonderful, it's a mizmor that David composed to thank Hashem. That's great. But why does it have to be said? Why did the rabbis who composed the tefillah of the Siddur, and specifically on Shabbos, Why did they put this? We know there's some extra Tehillim that we say Shabbos morning in the Psukei Zimra. So what is so Shabbostic about this Mizmor that we say it on Shabbos? I mean, there's a number of extra psalms that we say at Psukei Zimra. That's why davening takes a little bit longer Shabbos morning, and therefore people take advantage of that and just come later to Shul, because they could just end up skipping all these Mizmorim. There's quite a few, about 8, 9 Mizmorim that are added extra. So one interpretation is that this story happened on a Shabbos. It was a Shabbos. And David had to be Michalowicz Shabbos to save his life, had to desecrate the Shabbos to save his life, because in his acting crazy it says he wrote on the walls, and writing is not allowed. So that's one comment. The Otzar Tfilos continues and gives another reason. V'chibar hashevach hazeh al pi aleph beis b'roshei psukim zulas havav shu be'emtza pasuk. If you look at this psalm, as we'll go through in a minute, it goes through all the letters of the aleph beis except for the vav, which is in the middle of a pasuk. So if you look after the David Mizmor, with David, the first pasuk ever is Avorcha, starts with an aleph. Avorcha Hashem b'choleis. I will bless Hashem at all times. Tomid tehilos b'fiv. His praise is always in my mouth. Will always be in my mouth. Next pasuk is Bahashem tis halel nafshi. Starts with the beis. These are very famous psukim. This mitzvah is chock full of famous psukim. Gadlu Lashem iti Roma Shemayach. Starts with the gimel. Then Dorashti. Next pasuk is Hibitu, but then we skip the vav. The next pasuk is Ze Ani, skips the vav, although in the middle of the 5th pasuk, Hibitu Elav v'Naharu, in the middle of the pasuk is Ufnehem al Yechparu. So the vav is hidden in there, but it's not really the beginning of a pasuk, but it goes through the entire aleph base except for the vav. Now, he continues, a little bit mystical over here. Now, why is he? So he's saying, Lefi shahayaborech l'chutz la'aretz, because since he ran away outside of Eretz Yisrael, mugurash mihistapech l'Hashem, he was chased out from being able to stay in the heritage of Hashem. So since he had to leave Eretz Yisrael, l'chein bo havav v'hester, therefore the vav is kind of hidden, kimistar panim menu, as if he's hidden from Hashem. However, to make up for that, we'll have to see how this makes up. But to make up for the missing vav, nichbalo hapei. The pay is doubled, as we'll see in a minute. Alagul al v'atmura, which represents salvation and tmura, exchange. How is that? So if we have a pay in the regular place, following the order of the aleph beis of the pasuk Pnei Hashem ba'osei ra lahachrish meretz zichram. The face of Hashem is against evildoers, to cut off their memory from earth. And when all 21 verses are up, then we have a pay right at the end. Podeh Hashem nefesh avadav v'lo yeshmu kol hachosim bo. Hashem redeems the soul of His servants, and all those who take refuge in Him will not be condemned. So you have an extra pay, makes up for the vav. 2 pays make up for the vav. And he says this fits in grammatically, brings us from the Yavitz. Kihu vav ba'at bash gardak hatzvav. The vav and the pei are interchangeable. There's many different equations in the Hebrew lettering, and one of the equations is that the first letter and the last letter are twins, aleph and taf. Aleph is the first letter, taf is the last letter. Beis is the second letter, shin is the third letter. That's why it's called at bash. Aleph taf means at, beis shin is bash, at bash gardak. And then when you come to the hey is the 5th letter, and the pei is the 5th last letter, so the hey and the pei are interchangeable. Even sound is, they rhyme, hey and pei. That's brought to you by the Yavitz. Okay, so far all we have from this commentary, and he doesn't yet get into the Shabbos aspect, as he'll get to in a minute, but he says it's missing a vav, and there are 2 peis. Okay, so let's continue and see what he adds on. This is the Sefer Chazei Tzion. He quotes on the Sefer Kasav. Says Shechibur al pi aleph beis. Why did he make it in the order of the aleph beis? Kavana solirmos. He's intending to hint. Shikamo shebetorah ein but os levatola. Just like in the Torah, there's no letter that's wasted. The Aleph base, all 22 letters. There's no such thing as a letter that's not necessary. And he wrote it in the order of the Aleph base. So just like the Torah has no unnecessary letters, Kikol ha'Aleph base shricha l'ha'tzi ha'dibar mepeh, because you need all 22 letters to be able to express oneself properly with one's mouth. Hashem made 22 letters because that's all you need to express yourself, and every letter is not wasted. So Kain Ra'az Shalabara Kadosh Baruch Hu Afilu Hashtus Levato. Only after this story did David realize that there isn't one thing in the Hashem's world that is not wasted. Because we'll quote to you the Medrash shortly, where David HaMelech thought and wondered that Hashem had no reason for creating crazy people. There's no purpose that. We'll look at a Medrash shortly. We'll go through this in detail. So David HaMelech thought in the beginning that Hashem did do things that were not necessary. After this story, he realizes how even crazy people are necessary, and therefore he now composed this prayer saying that everything Hashem made has a purpose, and just like the Aleph base, every letter has a purpose, so everything Hashem makes in this world has a purpose. Because in the beginning he was wondering why Hashem created crazy people. Keda Isa Medrash, as is brought down in the Medrash that we will look at shortly. Now, he says, V'zeu hashevach, and this praise, hu ba'alpha base, it's with the Aleph base, v'heim beis chaf, so it's 22 verses, kineged osios HaTorah, which corresponds to the 22 letters of the Torah, and then he gets mystical and says there's 161 letters, which fits into one of Hashem's mystical names. And now he comes to the point. Al kain omrim also b'Shabbos. That's why we say it on Shabbos. Why? Very cryptic. Ki nishtane b'tam l'mal yusa lihiskadish. Because the Shabbos changes its ta'am. Its ta'am literally means its taste. The taste of Shabbos improves for betterment in terms of Kiddushin. Even the food of Shabbos improves for the betterment. As our rabbis say, the food you make on Shabbos has a special good fragrance. Doesn't really seem to help us at this point, but there is a little connection. If you look carefully at the words in the Navi and the words in this tefillah, what does it say that David did in Pasuk Yudalid? It says, Vayishano es tamo. Literally, the words mean Vayishano, and he changed his tam, his taste. Or tam has many meanings in Hebrew. Tam can mean taste. Tam means reasoning. Tam also means the cantorial way you sing things. But David changed his tam, and that's what it says in this tefillah. The David b'shano so es tamo, when he changed his tam. And Chazal say that the tam of Shabbos changes. So now we're getting somewhere. Something about the taste, Shabbos, the taste changes, and David changed. So there's some kind of changing of taste or of rationale that happens on Shabbos. We know the famous story where where Antoninus visited Rabbi Yehuda Nasi unexpectedly on a Shabbos, and the food tasted amazing. And he said, I have to have the recipe. So he gives him the recipe and the whole thing, and he even brings one of his cooks, and he makes the dish during the week. And during the week it didn't taste the same. So he's saying, what's going on? So he said, well, it's missing a tam, it's missing a spice. And what's that spice? The spice is Shabbos. So there's some kind of tam, different taste that exists on Shabbos that does not exist during the week. So what is this really talking about over here? So here clearly what the commentary here is saying, this shinui, there's a shinui tam, there's a change of taste on Shabbos, which somehow is being related to the shinui tam of the insanity that David HaMelech had. Okay, so what does that mean over here? So
so that wasn't fake by David, that actually occurred?
So now we're going to take a look at the I'm trying to remember what I want to do next. we have to understand what is this difference over here. So we have to say the following. The Ishbitzer Rebbe says this, and others say this idea. The idea is that everything in this world has a positive manifestation and a negative manifestation. There's nothing in this world that's neutral. There's always a positive and negative manifestation of certain things. So we have to understand what is the manifestation of shinui tam in a positive and a negative way, a change of tam. So what is, when we call people mentally unstable, if you really want a definition of that, how would you define a mentally unstable person? Is a person who has an altered state of consciousness in a way that is not normal, right? If a person, thinks he is the King of England, then why do we say he's not normal? Because every normal person knows he's not the King of England. If you think, what they call it, psychotic people, right? They think they're someone else. And any form of mental disability has to do with the fact that a person is living with an altered state of consciousness. He's not living in reality. Reality is, your name is Joe Blow, you work in a steel mill 6 days a week. All of a sudden he thinks he's the King of England, right? And therefore he's not living life the way he's supposed to be living. That is the negative form of insanity. But if there is insanity in this world, there must be a positive form. In other words, that which happens to the mind, something is happening to the mind. The mind is altered. The person lives based on that altered state of the mind. Now that's a condition that Hashem has created within a human being, but Hashem would not only create it as a negative, he'd have to create it in a positive way. In other words, the what's the word I'm looking for? The physics within the person has to be such that the person's state can be altered, but alter doesn't have to always be negative. It could be a positive altering of the person's physical state and mental state. What would be the positive altering of a mental state? How would it manifest itself in the most positive way? It would be prophecy. Prophecy is when a person lives in an altered state of consciousness. When a prophecy comes over a person, he now looks at the world differently than everybody else in the world looks at the world, because he sees things that other people can't see. Now, crazy people supposedly have fears and see things that don't exist, but a Navi sees things that we don't see, but he really sees things better than we see. And all the commentators explain what happens in the state of prophecy. The commentators say that quite often when a wave of prophecy comes over a person, he looks like he's either having an epileptic fit, or he looks like he's just not there. He's in another world, as it were. The other world, though, is the truer world of reality. And that's why people would think, if you just looked at a prophet during that moment when Hashem he's having, as it were, a positive seizure, as opposed to a negative seizure, he's having a positive seizure. That Hashem is overtaking this person and showing him realities that are beyond the realities that we can understand. So this is what we would call a positive manifestation of insanity. Insanity, saneness is all relative. It's relative to how the rest of the world behaves. If everybody behaves in a way that's called normal, then we say anything that's not normal is insane. So not normal means to think you're the King of England. Not normal means you think you can fly like a bird and you can't fly. You're doing things, you're living things not based on normal, intelligent ways of behavior. But on the other hand, now that's an unhealthy manifestation. But there is extremely healthy manifestations, and that would be a person reaching a state of prophecy. So positive insanity, we'd use like a Hasidic lingo of shtus de kedusha, an insanity of holiness. The whole word shtus is from the word sita, to turn away from the path, like a sota. Shtus It means you're veering off the path that everybody's on. Gemara Ksuvas, Daf Yud Ches, speaks about Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi. He was a certain Tana who would dance with a myrtle branch in his hand in front of a Kala, which was quite unusual for tzaddikim to do this. But when he died, it was very rare, a pillar of fire was in front of him, and that was a sign that he was an extremely holy man. And the Gemara says, what? The Gemara says that his shtus helped him to reach this exalted position. So you see, the Talmud even uses an expression of shtus, insanity, foolishness, as a positive sign sometimes. So now that we understand this, now we can begin to appreciate Shabbos. And you're going to see it all fits into place very nicely.
A question on the equation.
Yeah.
So it all sounds good, but we don't have prophecy today, but yet we're still having the same people. So
okay.
Wouldn't that say that maybe they don't equate, or they're not the...
Well, that we don't. Why we don't have prophecies for other reasons, but we're still going to see in a minute. There's other things that fit in very well. Just hang on 1 second. So now, what is the key to Shabbos? The key to understanding Shabbos is you must experience things differently than everybody else. Shabbos is a time where everyone is supposed to reach an altered state of consciousness, which is different than the way everybody looks at life during the week. Everyone looks during the 6 days of the week. What do quote-unquote normal people do? Normal people go to work 6 days a week. That is considered normal. Why is that considered normal? Because if you don't work, you don't make money. If you don't make money, you can't buy food, and you starve to death. A person who refuses to go to work, we would call them a crazy person. Not just lazy, but crazy. Says, I'm not going to work, and everything's going to happen in my place. Well, what do you do on Shabbos? On Shabbos, and what do you think secular people think about religious people when they see them walking with a suit and jacket on a rainy day, on a Saturday? They think one thing: we are nuts. So there's your exchange. A secular person literally think we are nuts. We're not living normally. We're archaic people. We are not sane people. That is why, if you ask a secular person, would you rather have your child come home with rings in all over themselves, and their tongue, and their lips, and that with green hair and red hair, and that on drugs, or being an observant Hasidic Jew? They'd rather them what? Be on drugs and looking like a hippie. Why? Now, obviously, them being religious is worse than being on drugs. Now, if you ask them that, they would much rather prefer that. Why did you go up and become religious? You're crazy. Because this is the way the world views religious people. It's crazy. Right? And that's what, it's why it's interesting. The 9th pasuk says the words, a very famous pasuk we learned many times, Tamu u're'u, taste and see, ki tov Hashem, that Hashem is good. Ashrei hagever yechasabo, praiseworthy the person who takes refuge in Hashem. People who say they believe in Hashem, everyone thinks you're nuts. What do you mean you believe in God? Is there something wrong with you? You have to believe in yourself. If you believe in God, then what was a great politician said? That religion is the opiate of the masses. Religious is how you act crazy, which legitimizes craziness, not proper behavior, right? But the truth of the matter is, the real truth of the matter is, the only way you can really experience the taste of Shabbos is by entering an altered state of consciousness. We say in the Musaf Tefillah, and we say it Friday afternoon when we're tasting our cholent, To'ameha Chaim Zochu, those who taste Hashem merit life. Judaism is a religion. Tam means taste. It also means how you think. And you have to go through a change of taste, a change of thinking. Everything changes on Shabbos. The entire world changes. And I don't want to get into it too much, but I already glanced in the Bavavi volume on Shabbos. He has a whole chapter on tasting the food on Erev Shabbos. This whole idea of tasting the food on Erev Shabbos and the food tasting different on Shabbos. Because the whole world changes on Shabbos. The whole world, not just you, but the cholent beans know it's Shabbos. The cholent beans are smart enough to know it's Shabbos, and the cholent tastes different on Shabbos than it does on Thursday. But only for those who know how to taste cholent. Only if you're in that state, that altered state of realizing that there's really only one taste, and that's the taste of Hashem. During the 6 days of the week, there might be many different things that you think are important. And that's perhaps why the letter Vav is missing. The letter Vav represents the 6 days of the week. The 6 days of the week. Also Vav, looks like a pipe, which is like the Vav Achibur, the connecting Vav. And the truth is, we need to get away from the 6 days of the week and our connection to this world, which everyone thinks is normal. And on Shabbos, you have to become crazy. How else can you explain how a Jew will stop working on Shabbos knowing that he will get fired? How else would you explain a Jew who came from the boat in the early 1900s and everybody was Machal Shabbos, because if you didn't get a job and you'd starve. And if a person says, I will not work on Shabbos, and every Monday he's fired because he didn't come in on Saturday, and after 3 weeks nobody hires him, and now he has no food to eat. Him and his family are thrown onto the cold, rainy streets of New York City with no place to live. Would you not call that? Now, anybody walking on the street would not say this is a crazy person. You're a healthy man. You refuse to work on Shabbos. Are you not crazy? And there's so many stories that we don't have time to talk about. You're crazy. Or the story I mentioned a couple last week after the morning class, I remember, right? About the religious and not religious construction men who had bags and bags of concrete outside their homes. They lived next to each other, had bags of concrete outside their homes. And one thing that concrete does not like is rain. It will destroy your concrete, right? So unexpectedly, it looked like it was going to rain on Shabbos. So the secular Jew turns to the religious Jew and says, let's go get our bags of concrete and bring them indoors so we can say, we'll work together, we'll save time, I'll help yours, you'll help mine, we'll save it. The religious Jew says, it's Shabbos, I can't move my concrete. And said, my cement? So the guy says, you're nuts. I'm going to move mine. And he quickly rushes to move all the cement back inside. And then it rains. And all the cement, the religious Jew cement, got destroyed. But then after Shabbos, when the secular Jew looked at his cement, he realized he was in such a hurry, he ended up taking the religious Jew's cement and he didn't take his cement. And the secular Jew ended up saving the religious Jew's cement, but not his. Would you not say that person is crazy? And that would be cause to put him in a loony bin if he keeps doing all these religious things? Right? There were certain wealthy people at the end of their life started giving tzedakah and becoming frum, and people want to put them in a loony bin. He's becoming religious. A religious person, what's wrong with the fellow? He wants to become religious. He has to be crazy. Right? So shinui tam, the change of intelligence, happens when you sever your connection to the Vav, which means the 6 days of the week. On Shabbos, you live totally not connected to the 6 days of the week. That's why the Vav is missing. But the pay is doubled. And that's that whole idea of the Shabbos being doubled, which I don't have time to get into. But pay represents what word? Simply pay is pet, a mouth. And what's a mouth supposed to do? Mouth's supposed to open. That's what a mouth is for. What did God create a mouth for? To open. You have to be open to the Shabbos. You need a degree of openness to feel the Shabbos, to be able to experience the Shabbos. You got to be open to it. How many secular Jews are closed? They're closed-minded to the Shabbos. This is the way life is. There is no other way life is. Anything else is crazy, and I want to remain normal. And the only thing to do if you keep Shabbos, you're crazy. You're not open to the quote-unquote craziness of Shabbos. And that's how the Ishbitzer Rebbe explains by Musaf. When we come to Musaf, after the Kedusha of Musaf, how does the first paragraph go? Let's get to Musaf. We say, Tikanta Shabbos, Ratzisa Korban Aseh, Tzivisa Perishah. What do you notice the style of those words? It's the Aleph Beis in reverse order. Tikanta starts with a Tav, Shabbos with a Shin, Ratzisa with a Reish, Korban Aseh with a Kuf, Tzivisa with a Tzadi, Pei Risheh with a Pei, going all the way down until the 22nd word is Uz. And now, it's 22 backwards. Okay, good look at the Art Scroll Siddur, it gives you an explanation about that. And then after the Uz, we start the other letters, and the next letters is Misinai Nitztavu, which are the first two letters of Mem and Nun, which is the word Mon. Okay, anyway, you could look at Art Scroll for his explanation of that. The Ishbitzer explains from his father, the reversal of the letters is like this. During the week, we go in order. Meaning to say, we, as Jews, are supposed to influence the world. And therefore, we take the Aleph base, that's powerful letters, and we use those Aleph base, we go in order to try to influence the world. On Shabbos, it's reversed. Hashem influences us. And the letters are facing Hashem, as it were, and when the letters are facing Hashem, they appear to be backwards to us. And the Ishbitzer Rebbe says, on Shabbos, you have to shape your will to Hashem's will. You have to be completely passive to take in what Hashem is bringing into you. He goes to and this is the words of the Ishbitzer Rebbe. He says, you have to what? La'azov da'ato. You must leave your intellect behind when you want to come into Shabbos. You have to become crazy. You can't act as an intelligent person. You have to be totally blank, as it were, to take in everything Hashem. You have to leave all your intellect behind. He gets to the point and says, you can't even be what we call a clay kibble. You can't even be a receptacle. Even a receptacle, to a certain degree, shapes what it receives. If the receptacle is round, then what's receiving looks round. He says, you can't even, normally we're a receptacle. On Shabbos, you can't even be a receptacle, he says. Because even a receptacle defines what it perceives from Hashem. That's how far it has to go on Shabbos. That's the whole idea. Shabbos, everything is done. Everything is perfect. This is not a perfect world. On Shabbos it is. Shabbos is a taste of the world to come. We don't understand the world to come. So we just don't understand certain people. You know, I was in Eretz Yisrael over Shabbos. I was staying with a very beautiful family, and this fellow who was there was born or came very young to Eretz Yisrael. He's an old timer. He's retired now, but an old timer from the old days. You know, he knew all the Chevra, Rav Shach, the Chazanish, all of them. He knew them all, and so he lives in Bayit Vagan, and he would point, you know, down the road there's Amshinov Rebbe lives there, right? And people somebody would want to see the Amshinov Rebbe, whatever. And he says he looked so many stories about the Amshinov Rebbe. You know, the Amshinov Rebbe could stand Shmones like 5 hours. Would be normal davening for Amshinov Rebbe, right? That's not normal. That's not normal. Because he's entering a different state of reality. A state that we can't comprehend. He said over a story of Amshinov Rebbe that there was somebody, I don't remember the details, was involved in some kind of a legal suit, whatever. Somebody, and some of the Amshinov Rebbe's name got mixed in with it. Rightly or wrongly, probably wrongly, but his name got mixed in with it. And anyway, the police were called in to take him in for questioning. So, like, either the chief of police or somebody high in the police, it was on a Shabbos, I believe, and they came to take the Amshinov Rebbe. So they said, "Where's Amshinov Rebbe?" He says, "He's in that house." So the secular policeman goes to see the Amshinov Rebbe, and he's going to take him in. It's like a real chiloni. So he stops and just looks at the Amshinov Rebbe. He's looking at him during his davening. He's just looking at him, mesmerized for a very long time. And then he turns away. He says, "I can't take this guy in. He's a holy person." How does a chiloni person see this? Right? Just like Lahavli, you wouldn't take in a crazy person. Can't talk to a crazy person. This person is crazy, holy, and that somebody just can't take in. Amshinov Rebbe, he's beyond time. The Amshinov Rebbe, like by him, you know, Motzei Shabbos doesn't start till Sunday morning. Like he's beyond. He's just in another world. But he's in the real world. We're in the wrong world. See, that's the problem. And that's what Shabbos is all about. Now we're going to come to the Yalkut. The Yalkut Shimoni. Running out of time. I don't know if we'll finish it today. The Yalkut Shimoni says like this. David ran away. Zeh Shamar HaKosef. This is what the pasuk says, and that's the first pasuk. King Shlomo says, "Es hakol asa yafa beito." Hashem did everything good in His time. In His time, Hashem did everything good. Let me just get back to this tefillah over here. Right. So Shlomo Melech said Hashem did everything good in His time. So, Kol Masha Asa Kadosh Baruch Hu B'Olam Yafa. Everything Hashem made in His world was good. So now David HaMelech said, Amar L'Zan Kadosh Baruch Hu, Rabbi Shalom, Kol Masha Sisu B'Olam Yafa. Did you make everything in your world good? Chachma Yafa Min HaKol. Yeah, wisdom's pretty good. Chutz Min HaShtus, except for insanity. Mahana B'Shoita Hazeh. What benefit do we get out of crazy people? Adam Mahalch V'Shuk V'Korea V'Godov. Person walks the street and rips his clothing. V'Tinokus Mesachim go, and children make fun of him. V'Ratz Inachim, they run after him. V'Am Mesachim, and people make fun of him. Is this good before you, that someone in the image of God should be crazy? I can't understand this. Amalu HaKadosh Baruch Hu David. Hashem said to David, David, Al Shtus Ata Korea Tagar. On insanity you're making complaints? I swear you, one day you're going to need it. But came Shlomo Omer, and so did Shlomo say, okay, we'll skip that pasuk. Amalu HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem said to David, even then when things were fine, He said, Titztair, pain yourself over this, V'tispala, and pray for it, till I'll give you a little craziness. Daven to be crazy. That's what you should daven for. La'asa David did not daven for craziness. Rather, he went to the Plishtim. So it says the pasuk, David ran away to Achish. Amalei Kadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem said, David, Eitzel Achish ataholech. You're running to Achish? Are you the crazy one? Esmol Araktes Goliath. Yesterday you killed his brother Goliath. And now you go to his brother, your sword in your hand, and his brothers are his bodyguards, are all going to see you. The blood of Goliath hasn't even dried up yet. This is what you're doing? Since he came there, the guards came to Achish. Shouldn't we kill the guy who killed your brother? Then he goes into details. Well, it wasn't exactly a war, because it was a deal. We made a deal. Whoever kills Goliath, so there might be a way for him to be the king. They said, oh really? Should you want to get off your throne and give it to David? He said, well, on that hand, maybe not. Maybe we should kill him. That's what the Psukim said. And then David became afraid. And then Hiskel David Ispalel, and then David went and prayed to Hashem. Please Hashem, answer me at this time. Hashem said to him, what do you want? Amrlo, David said, David, give me a little bit of this craziness. Amrlo, Hashem said, well, Martilov, didn't I tell you that you shouldn't make fun of it? You're going to need it one day. So he made himself like a shaita, and he starts writing on the walls. He writes on the walls, Achish, the king of Gas, owes me $100,000. His wife owes me $50,000. And the commentaries say he couldn't have feigned this. Feigning it could be detected. Hashem had mamish make him crazy. He davened to become crazy, and Hashem made him really crazy. If you're faking craziness, people could tell. Especially if you haven't acted it in your life. He made him temporarily mamish crazy. And that's why he started screaming. And Achish had a daughter who was crazy. And Achish knew what it meant to have a crazy person. So not only because he had a daughter that was crazy, did he know what crazy really means? He says, now you know why you need crazy people? If there wouldn't have been a crazy person here, how could you have been saved? Do you think I'm missing crazy people? I have enough crazy people. Now comes the punchline. So now David's going to be saved. But at that time, Sameach David Simcha Gedola. David had a great joy. Hashtus mitoch simcha, where this craziness came out of joy. And that's the first pasuk in this of this Perek Tehillim. Avorchas Hashem b'chol eis. I will bless Hashem at all times. Now I know that Hashem created something for everything. So David actually experienced insanity, and this just led him to simcha. So now you can understand what simcha is. What is simcha? What is joy? Joy is an altered state of consciousness. Just like prophecy, just like foolishness, being able to live the world differently than everybody else lives it. And those are the only happy people. Yes, we say crazy people are happy. What do they call that? Ignorance is bliss, or the crazy people are always the happy people in this world. The real crazy, the sick crazy people are happy in this world, and the spiritually crazy people are the only happy people in this world. And what's crazier than believing in God and trusting in Hashem and not working on Shabbos is the only person who really has simcha in this world. So in order for there to be the possibility of simcha, true simcha in this world, there has to be the concept of insanity. There has to be a concept of an altered state of consciousness. And a person to really, really understand and feel and taste the Shabbos, you have to change into another state of consciousness. And that doesn't happen coming home from work at 6:24 and being at Shul at 6:30. It doesn't happen. You need Erev Shabbos to change to alter your state of consciousness. That's what the whole avodah of Erev Shabbos is meant to do. You mamish have to alter your state of consciousness to be able to take in the reality of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's why most Jews do not understand, do not taste, do not feel the Shabbos, because they're too normal. And a normal person will never enjoy Yiddishkeit. Whenever you hear the comment, you got to be normal, this is a crazy world. The world that we call normal, what do Chazal call? The Alma de Shikra, the world of falsehood. The only happy people are the people who see the truth, and the truth is too painful for normal people to live with. The truth of Yom HaHu Hashem Echad Shema Echad. Hashem is one, everything depends on Hashem. And people say, if you believe in that, then you're a crazy person. And that's what it means to be crazy religious. That's what they call us, fanatics. Fanatics are crazy people, lunatics. We live by the moon. That's what it takes. And that's what David HaMelech understood finally, that everything Hashem makes in this world is for a purpose. And therefore, if a person is going through a great depression and sadness, this is one of the kapitals you're supposed to say. Because Hashem makes everything in this world exactly the way it's supposed to be, but you've got to be crazy to appreciate it. You have to change your state of consciousness to be able to appreciate Hashem, and Shabbos is the time to best appreciate it if possible. How this fits into other things, we're way out of time. We'll leave to explain a little bit more. But now you begin to, this is a major turning point in David HaMelech's life. To really understand what Shabbos is able to give him the ability to withstand everything that Shaul throws at him.